Enough! You are never stepping foot in this house again. Do you understand? Never again. Stephanie's words ripped through the living room like a lightning strike, making the framed photos on the wall tremble. Or maybe it was just my 68-year-old body, shaking, struggling to stay upright as my world shattered around me. I stood paralyzed, clutching my crocheted handbag to my chest, the very one Olivia had decorated with colorful buttons for Grandparents' Day. My mouth opened, but no sound escaped. What can you say when your own family casts you out like an unwanted stranger? Ethan and Olivia peeked from the crack in their bedroom door, eyes wide and terrified. When our gazes met, Stephanie spun around, her face hardening. "Back to your room! Now!" She barked at my grandbabies, who vanished in an instant. I swallowed, the metallic tang of unshed tears coating my tongue. "Stephanie, please, let's just talk. If I did something to upset you, we can..." "There's nothing to talk about, Brenda." She cut me off, her voice a flat, cold blade. Before, she always called me Mom. Now, my first name, delivered with that chilling edge, felt like a brick wall slammed between us. "My decision is made. The children need boundaries. They need qualified professionals, not a grandmother living in the last century." My legs buckled. I had to brace myself against the entryway console table, the same one where I'd placed my purse every day for 8 years, arriving to care for the twins. On it still sat the picture frame from their baptism, where I held Ethan, so tiny, in my arms. Can I at least say goodbye?" My voice was a whisper, a strained, unfamiliar sound. "No, it's better this way. No drama," Stephanie replied, pulling open the front door. The cold June air rushed in, but it was no colder than her unforgiving gaze. "Matt will be in touch later." I stumbled out of that house, a place where I'd spent more time in the last 8 years than in my own. The door slammed shut behind me with a final, echoing thud. You must be wondering how it came to this. How a grandmother who poured nearly a decade of her life into her grandkids could be discarded overnight. Everything started to shift about 3 months ago, after Stephanie's promotion at the bank. I remember the celebration dinner. I'd made the lasagna Matt always loved. "Regional manager, Mom. Can you believe it?" Matt announced, his chest puffed out, refilling his wife's wine glass. "Stephanie's gonna be in charge of 5 branches now." "That's truly wonderful, my dear," I said, genuinely thrilled for her. "You deserve it. You've always been so dedicated." Stephanie smiled, but a new distant gleam flickered in her eyes. "Thanks, Brenda. But this means more travel, more business dinners." She paused, looking at Matt as if for moral support. "We're thinking of hiring a full-time nanny." A familiar ache tightened in my chest, but I kept my smile in place. "Oh, but don't you worry about me. I can spend more time with the kids whenever you need. You know I don't mind." "That's not it, Mom," Matt interjected, stepping in. "Stephanie just thinks it would be good to have someone with specific training. You know, early childhood education. Those modern approaches." "Exactly," Stephanie added, neatly adjusting her napkin. "The children are at a crucial stage of development. They need proper stimulation." That night, I went home with a heavy heart. For the first time in years, I felt gently, subtly pushed away. But I accepted it. After all, who was I to question what parents wanted for their own children? The nanny arrived the following week. Chloe, 26, with perfectly straightened hair and nails that never chipped. She carried academic-looking books with complicated titles about child development and spoke in pedagogical jargon I barely understood. Brenda, you can rest assured. I'll implement a cognitively stimulating routine for the children, she said at our first meeting, while I was showing her where Ethan's allergy medicine was kept. In the beginning, we shared tasks. I still prepared their lunchboxes each morning. She handled the structured activities. But I quickly felt my space shrinking. Grandma, Chloe said your cake has too much sugar, Olivia commented one afternoon, pushing away the snack I'd lovingly prepared. Chloe said we shouldn't watch those old cartoons you like, Ethan declared another day, when I suggested we rewatch those classic Tom and Jerry episodes he used to adore. Small things accumulated. My hours were cut. We only need you until 3 now, Brenda. Then, perhaps it's better if you only come 3 times a week. And finally, let's try a week without overwhelming you, Brenda. I saw the changes in the house, too. The twins' drawings, once proudly displayed on the refrigerator, were replaced by clinical activity charts and schedules. The candy jar I kept in the second kitchen drawer vanished. Photos with me in them were gradually removed from walls and shelves. One Sunday morning about a month ago, I received a text from Stephanie. Brenda, you don't need to come tomorrow. Chloe will be full-time this week. I called Matt, a knot of worry in my stomach. Son, is everything okay? Stephanie said I don't need to come tomorrow. A pause stretched on the line before he replied. Mom, Stephanie thinks that... Well, maybe it's time for you to rest a little. You've done so much for us. But I'm not tired, son. I love being with the kids. Another silence. It's just that... Stephanie thinks you sometimes don't exactly follow what we've agreed on about their education. My heart clenched tighter. What do you mean? The hidden candy, Mom. The scary stories you tell. And last week you let them watch a movie we hadn't approved. It was just despicable, me, Matt. Every kid watches it. It's not just that, Mom. Olivia mentioned you said girls should serve boys at the table. I never said that, I exclaimed, indignation burning. I only taught them that we should be kind to each other. That it's lovely to serve those we love, whether they're boys or girls. Matt sighed heavily. Look, let's take a break, okay? Stephanie's under a lot of pressure with her new job. Let's see how things are in the next few weeks. That was the last semblance of a normal conversation we had before that fateful Wednesday, when Stephanie finally exploded and expelled me from her home. On the bus ride home, after being cast out, I wept silently, clutching my rosary beads. An older woman beside me offered a tissue. Family troubles, dear, she asked gently. I nodded, unable to speak. I'm 76, she continued, her voice soft. And I've learned that with family, sometimes you have to take 1 step back to take 2 steps forward. Her words clung to me as I entered my small apartment, the one I barely saw during the day, having spent all my time at Matt and Stephanie's house. It felt emptier, quieter than ever. In the following days, I called Matt several times. The first few calls went straight to voicemail. When he finally answered, his voice was distant, guarded. Mom, I need you to understand. Stephanie is really stressed with her new job. She feels that you sometimes undermine her authority with the kids. But son, I never... It's not what you intend, Mom. It's how she feels. Please, just give it some time. I'll try to talk to her when things calm down. I hung up the phone, a bitter sense of betrayal settling in. This from the same boy I'd raised alone, after his father died when Matt was just 12. I worked 2 jobs so he could go to school. Never complained about sleepless nights when he was sick. Saved every penny for his college. And now, he couldn't defend me to his wife. A week bled into another. The silence was deafening. I'd wake at 5 by habit, make coffee as if preparing to care for the twins, then remember I had nowhere to go. I'd sit at the kitchen table staring at the clock, wondering if Ethan remembered his allergy medicine, if Olivia had properly brushed that tangled hair, only I knew how to untangle without hurting her. That's when the phone rang. It was Patty, my younger sister. "Brenda, you won't believe this. I just got an invitation for the twins' birthday next Saturday." My heart seized. "What do you mean? Their birthday isn't for another 3 weeks." "I know, right? Seems they moved it up. It's going to be a big party at the Rainbow Celebration venue. Stephanie called me personally to invite me." I felt the floor drop out from under me. I hadn't been invited to my own grandchildren's birthday. The same grandbabies I'd rocked to sleep, soothed through colic, taught their first steps, comforted when they fell and scraped their knees. "Are you going?" I asked, trying to keep the tremor from my voice. "Of course not, Brenda. What kind of nonsense is that? I told Stephanie I was busy. I'm not going to be part of that cruelty." After hanging up, I sat on the sofa for hours, staring into nothing. The tears wouldn't even come anymore. It was a pain beyond crying. That's when I noticed it on the coffee table. The photo album I'd put together since the twins were born. I began to flip through it slowly. Ethan and Olivia as newborns, their first gummy smiles, first teeth, first day of preschool. In almost every photo, I was there, right beside them. And then, something ignited within me. A small, fierce flame of determination. "They can keep me out of that house," I said aloud to the empty apartment. "But they can't erase the love we've built all these years." In that moment, I realized I still had an ace up my sleeve. Not for vengeance or resentment, but for love. Pure, simple love. I grabbed my purse and went out. I drove to the mall and bought 2 beautiful gifts for the twins. For Ethan, a science experiment kit he'd mentioned he wanted. For Olivia, a collection of books from that adventure series we'd been reading together. I went back home and wrote 2 letters, one for each, pouring my entire heart into every word. Then I called Patty. "I need a favor, sis. It's not for me. It's for the twins." The next day, Patty came to my place to pick up the carefully wrapped gifts and letters. "Are you sure about this, Brenda? Won't it just make things worse?" "I'm sure. I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm just showing my grandkids that no matter what, Grandma's love is unconditional." And so, while I stayed home alone on the day of the party, imagining the laughter, the games, and the cake I didn't get to help pick out, my sister discreetly delivered my presents to the twins. What happened next would change everything. That night, lying in my bed, staring at the ceiling, I couldn't have imagined that my small gesture of love would open a door that seemed permanently sealed. I didn't know that soon. My phone would ring with 2 little voices whispering on the other end. I couldn't foresee that my son, Matt, would show up at my door, eyes full of regret, with an invitation for a secret meeting at the park. All I knew in that moment was that true love always finds a way, even when every door seems shut. And that I, Brenda, at 68, still had so much love to give. The very next day after the party, I was making myself some chamomile tea when my phone rang, an unknown number. I answered, my voice hesitant. "Hello? Grandma!" An excited whisper from the other end made me sit up straight. "It's me, Olivia!" My heart leaped. "Olivia, my sweet pea. How are you? Where did you get this phone? It's Chloe's cell, she whispered, even softer. She left it charging and went to the bathroom. Ethan, hurry up! I heard hurried footsteps and soon my grandson's voice joined the call. Grandma, we love the gifts. I've already done 3 experiments from the kit. I even made one that changes the color of water. And I already finished the first book, Grandma, Olivia added. The part where the girl finds the secret map reminded me of when we found that old trunk in your closet, remember? Tears streamed down my face as I smiled into the phone. I do remember, sweetie. That day we pretended to be pirates searching for treasure. Mommy said you were sick, Ethan interrupted, his voice now serious. But you don't sound sick. Why didn't you come to our party? I took a deep breath, choosing my words carefully. Sometimes, my dears, adults have disagreements that need time to sort out. But that doesn't change how much Grandma loves you. Not one bit. We love you too, Olivia replied. At the party, I saved you a piece of cake. I hid it in my room. That innocence broke my heart. A hidden piece of cake, probably spoiled by now, was the purest symbol of a love that not even imposed distance could erase. Grandma, Ethan said, his voice trembling a little. Chloe's nice, but she doesn't tell stories like you do. And when I wake up from a nightmare, she just tells me to go back to sleep. And she doesn't let us eat in bed when we're sick, Olivia added. Remember when I had chicken pox and you made that fort in my room? We ate star-shaped sandwiches. Kids! I heard a distant voice from the other end. What are you doing with my phone? We have to hang up, Grandma, Olivia whispered hurriedly. We'll call you again, Ethan promised. And the line went dead. I sat in my armchair for almost an hour, my phone still in my hand, as if it might ring again at any moment. Those voices, those shared memories, were proof that the bond we'd built couldn't simply be erased by Stephanie's decree. 3 days later, I was watering my plants on the balcony when I saw a familiar car pull up in front of my building. My heart sped up as I recognized Matt stepping out. He looked up, saw me, and waved shyly. Minutes later, he was at my door, looking older and more worn than his 42 years. Can I come in, Mom? I stepped aside without a word. He entered, looking around as if rediscovering the apartment where he'd grown up. His eyes stopped on the photographs on the shelf. Him at 15 holding his chess trophy. His graduation, our Christmas of 2010, the last one before he got married. Coffee? I offered, breaking the silence. Yes, please. In the kitchen, while the water boiled, I remembered how many important conversations we'd had in that same space. When he had his first heartbreak at 16, when he decided he wanted to be an engineer, when he told me Stephanie was pregnant. I returned with 2 mugs and found Matt holding a framed photo. The picture from the day the twins were born. I was right there with him at the hospital, exhausted after spending 18 hours, but radiant with happiness. Remember that day? I asked, setting the coffee down. How could I forget? You stayed with me the whole time while Stephanie was in the C-section. I was so nervous you had to remind me to breathe. We sat in silence for a few moments, the past hanging between us like an invisible presence. Mom, he finally began. The kids haven't stopped asking about you. Ever since the party. Well, they found the gifts you sent. I took a sip of coffee, waiting for him to continue. Stephanie was furious, you know? Said you were trying to manipulate the situation, undermine her authority. That wasn't my intention, son. I just couldn't let their birthday pass without... Oh no. he interrupted, rubbing his tired eyes. And I realized I was a coward, Mom. You were always there for me, for us. When Dad passed, you held everything together by yourself. You never complained, never made me feel like I was a burden. His words brought back memories I'd kept tucked away. The nights I sewed late to make ends meet, the shoes I didn't buy for myself so he could have English lessons, the exhaustion masked with smiles. Son, you were never a burden. You were my strength. Matt covered my hand with his. Stephanie's unyielding. She says you interfere with the way she wants to raise the kids, that you diminish her somehow. I never wanted that, I replied sincerely. I just wanted to help. I know, and that's why I'm here. He took a deep breath. I proposed a compromise to Stephanie. You and the kids can meet on Sundays, at the park, without her, for now. Secret meetings with my own grandchildren? The suggestion had a bitter taste. It's not ideal, Mom, but it's a start. Stephanie doesn't know yet. I need her to see this is important for the kids, for all of us. I thought for a moment. It wasn't what I wanted, but it was better than nothing. It was a door left ajar. All right, son. When do we start? This Sunday. I'll tell Stephanie I'm taking the kids for a bike ride. When Matt stood to leave, he hugged me tighter than usual. I'm sorry, Mom, for everything. You know, son, I said as I walked him to the door, I learned something these past few weeks. Nobody can erase true love. Your wife can keep me from setting foot in your house, but she can't take me out of my grandchildren's hearts. And that's my true victory. The first meeting at the park was like an oasis after weeks in the desert. Ethan and Olivia ran to me as soon as they saw me on the bench near the lake, almost knocking me over with the force of their combined hug. Grandma! They yelled in unison. Their little faces lit up with smiles I'd feared I'd never see again. My darlings. How much you've grown in these few weeks. I hugged them tight, inhaling the scent of their children's shampoo. I lost a tooth. Look. Ethan flashed a gap-toothed smile. And I learned how to do a cartwheel in gymnastics class. Olivia stepped back, ready to show off her new skill. Matt watched from a distance, smiling discreetly while pretending to check messages on his phone. We spent the entire afternoon together. I fed the ducks, told stories under a leafy tree, bought them ice cream, despite Matt's worried glance about the sugar, and listened attentively to every new thing in their lives. Chloe's nice, Olivia commented, swinging her legs as she sat beside me. But she doesn't do a witch voice in stories like you do, Grandma. And she doesn't let us help bake cakes, Ethan added. She says it makes too much of a mess. I smiled, remembering our baking afternoons when more flour ended up on the floor and our faces than in the bowl. Sometimes making a mess is important too, I replied, careful not to say anything that could be interpreted as a criticism of the nanny or Stephanie. When the sun began to set, Matt approached. Kids, it's time to go. The protests were immediate and vehement. 5 more minutes, Dad. We barely got to see Grandma. Please, just a little bit longer. Matt glanced at his watch, worried. Stephanie will wonder what's keeping us. I hugged my grandkids one more time. Don't you worry, my loves. We'll see each other again next Sunday. Promise? Ethan asked, his serious little eyes fixed on mine. I promise, I replied, doing our secret pinky swear, pinky fingers linked in a kiss on his forehead. As I watched them walk away, hand in hand with Matt, I felt a mix of gratitude and sadness. It was so little time compared to what we used to have, but it was something to hold on to. Our Sunday visits became the highlight of my week. Every Sunday, I'd wake up early, prepare special snacks, and think of new activities for us to do together. On the third Sunday, I brought an old photo album. Look, this is your dad when he was about your age. I showed them a picture of Matt at 8 years old, with a missing tooth just like Ethan now. Daddy wore glasses, Olivia exclaimed, giggling. And look at his hair. Ethan pointed to the bowl cut that was all the rage in the 90s. Matt, who usually kept his distance during our visits, came closer, curious. My goodness, Mom, where did you dig that up? I looked ghastly. You looked adorable, I corrected, turning the page. Look at this one from your 10th birthday. The photo showed Matt blowing out candles on a simple cake at a small party in our apartment. Just me, him, and 2 school friends. Why was the party so small, Dad? Olivia asked. Matt and I exchanged glances. He sat down with us on the bench. Because back then, your grandma and I didn't have a lot of money, he explained with an honesty that surprised me. Your grandpa had passed away not long before, and Grandma worked so hard to take care of me all by herself. The twins looked at me with new understanding in their eyes. Like Mateo's dad, Ethan commented. He lives just with his mom, too. But were you sad without Grandpa? Olivia asked Matt. My son took a deep breath. Yes, very. But Grandma? She just made everything seem less difficult. How? Ethan wanted to know. Matt smiled, lost in memories. She'd invent games when we couldn't afford new toys. She'd tell amazing stories before bed. And even working 2 jobs, she never missed a single school meeting or one of my performances. I felt tears welling up. It was the first time in so many years that Matt had spoken like that about our life together. One time, he continued, I really wanted a bike I saw at the store. All my friends had one, but it was too expensive for us. Then, on my birthday morning, I woke up, and there it was. Not brand new, a little scratched, but it was a bike. You bought it, Grandma? Olivia asked. I shook my head. Couldn't afford a new one. So I found a used one a family was selling, fixed it up, sanded it, painted it blue, which was your dad's favorite color. She stayed up 3 nights painting and fixing that bike after I was asleep. Matt finished, his voice thick with emotion. I only found out years later, when the neighbor commented. Ethan and Olivia looked at both of us, absorbing every word. In that moment, I realized we were doing more than just reliving the past. We were building a bridge between generations, showing them where they came from. You know what else I remember most about that time? Matt asked, looking directly at me. How you always said we'd be okay no matter what. And we were, weren't we? I nodded, a lump in my throat preventing words. That night, when Matt brought the kids back to the car, he hugged me for a long time. Thank you for today, Mom. For everything. On the 4th week of our secret meetings, something unexpected happened. We were in the middle of a leaf fight when I saw a familiar figure approaching on the park path. Stephanie. My body froze. Matt, who was picking leaves out of Olivia's hair, followed my gaze and paled. Kids, he said quickly, go play on the slide for a bit. Ethan and Olivia, sensing the sudden tension, looked from Stephanie to me and obeyed silently. Stephanie approached, her heels echoing on the stone path. Even on a Sunday at the park, she was impeccably dressed and made up. So this is what you do every Sunday, she said, her voice controlled but sharp. Secret meetings behind my back. Stephanie, I was gonna tell you, Matt started. When? After how many weeks of lying to me? She crossed her arms. The neighbors saw you leaving together every Sunday at the same time. I thought it was strange you were taking so long to ride bikes, so today I decided to follow. I stepped forward. Stephanie, it's not Matt's fault. No, Brenda. I don't want to hear your excuses. She turned to Matt. Grab the kids. We're going home. We'll talk there. No. The word left Matt's mouth with a firmness that surprised all of us, even himself. What? Stephanie asked, incredulous. I said no. Matt straightened his shoulders. I'm not taking the kids now. We're in the middle of a family afternoon. Family? Stephanie let out a humorless laugh. Are you choosing your mother over your wife? Is that what this is? I'm not choosing anyone, Stephanie. I'm saying what you're doing isn't fair. My mom dedicated years of her life to help us, to care for our kids, while we built our careers. And now she's reaping the rewards, isn't she? Turning the kids against me, making me look like the villain of the story. Nobody's turning anyone against you, I replied, keeping my voice calm. Stephanie, I never wanted to take your place or diminish your authority. I just wanted to help. Help? She turned to me, her eyes blazing with anger. You think it's help when the kids say, but Grandma lets us, every time I say no to something. Or when they compare my cooking to yours. Or when they cry for you. When they're sick. Her words hit me like a physical blow, so that was it. It wasn't about old-fashioned methods or hidden sweets. It was about a mother feeling replaced, insecure in her own role. I didn't know you felt that way, I said softly. How could I know? You were too busy being the perfect grandma. Matt intervened. Stephanie, that's not fair. Not fair. She turned to him. You know what's not fair? Working all day, coming home exhausted and hearing my kids ask why I'm not as fun as Grandma, why I don't tell stories like Grandma, why I don't have patience like Grandma. Tears started to stream down Stephanie's perfectly made-up face. It was the first time I'd seen her cry in all these years. I feel like a stranger in my own children's lives, she continued, her voice breaking. And when I finally get a promotion, when I can finally give them the comfort I never had, when I hire a professional to help them develop, you're still the favorite. The silence that followed was heavy, broken only by the distant sound of the twins playing on the slide. Stephanie, I finally said, I never wanted to compete with you. Never. But you did compete, she replied, wiping her tears. Maybe unintentionally, but you competed. Matt approached her. Why didn't you ever tell me how you felt? Because you idolize her, Matt. Your perfect mother who raised you alone, who sacrificed so much. How could I possibly compete with that? In that moment, everything became clear to me. It wasn't just about the twins. It was about Matt, too. About their relationship. About deeper insecurities I'd never perceived. Stephanie, I said, taking a step toward her. You are the mother of my grandchildren. Nothing and no one can change that, or lessen its importance. I only ever wanted to be a support, never a substitute. She looked at me, still suspicious, but something in her posture shifted. Maybe we all just need to talk things through better, Matt suggested. No accusations, no resentments, just talk. Stephanie looked at the twins in the distance, then at me, and finally at Matt. All right, she finally agreed. But not here, not now. How about we have dinner together on Tuesday, I suggested. At my place. I'll cook. Stephanie hesitated, then nodded slightly. All right. When she walked away to get the kids, Matt held my hand. Thank you, Mom. For what? for not giving up on us. Dinner on Tuesday was tense at first. Stephanie arrived promptly at 7, bringing a bottle of wine. Matt and the kids came soon after. "Grandma." Ethan and Olivia ran to hug me as always, but I noticed they looked hesitantly at their mom afterward, as if asking permission. "Your grandma made that lasagna you like," Stephanie said, surprising everyone with her gentle tone. During dinner, we kept the conversation light, mostly about Matt's work and the kids' activities. When we finished dessert, my homemade banana pudding, which had been Stephanie's favorite since I first met her, Matt took the kids to watch television in the living room. Stephanie and I were left alone in the kitchen, washing dishes in an uncomfortable silence. "You always remembered that banana pudding is my favorite," she commented finally, wiping a plate. "Of course I do. You mentioned it that first Christmas you spent with us." She smiled slightly. "You always pay attention to those details." "It's part of caring for someone," I replied simply. Stephanie put the plate on the drying rack and turned to me. "Brenda, I overreacted that day, said things I shouldn't have." "You were hurting." "Yes, but that doesn't justify it. It's just..." She took a deep breath. "When I was growing up, my mom worked so much I barely saw her. I didn't have present grandparents, no one to tell me stories or bake me cakes. I promised myself I'd be different with my kids. And you are, Stephanie. You're an excellent mother. But then came the promotion, and the travel, and the responsibilities. And the more I pulled away, the more I saw them clinging to you. I felt like I was failing, like my own mother did." Her words hit me hard. For the first time, I saw past the confident, in-control Stephanie. I saw a woman battling her own fears and insecurities. "You're not your mother, Stephanie. And I'm not trying to take your place. Never have been. I know that now." She hesitated before going on. "When I saw Ethan and Olivia crying for you after their birthday party, I knew I'd gone too far, but my pride just wouldn't let me back down." "Pride's a terrible counselor," I commented, remembering my own struggles with it over the years. "Matt told me about the bike," she said suddenly. "How you worked 2 jobs and still found time to be there for him. I just did what any mom would do. No, Brenda, not every mom does that. My mom didn't." She wiped away a stray tear. "I guess part of me always worried I wouldn't be good enough compared to you." "Oh, Stephanie." I placed a hand on her shoulder. "You're exactly what my grandkids need. You're strong, determined, smart. You're teaching them values I wouldn't even know how to approach in this modern world." She smiled through her tears. "And you teach them things I don't. Patience, stories, traditions. Maybe," I hesitated, choosing my words carefully, "maybe we can stop seeing this as a competition. Maybe we can be a team." "A team," she repeated, considering the idea. "I think I like the sound of that." That night, as the family was leaving, Stephanie surprised me with a quick but heartfelt hug. "You can come visit on Saturday," she said. "We're doing lunch." The following months brought gradual but significant changes. I didn't go back to the old routine, and maybe that was for the best. I started visiting the twins twice a week, one day to help with homework, and another for fun activities. Stephanie and I established clear, respectful boundaries. She'd consult me on important decisions related to the kids, and I always reinforced her authority as their mother. One Sunday afternoon, 6 months after that terrible fight, we were all in their backyard. Matt was firing up the grill for a BBQ. The kids were playing on the lawn, and Stephanie and I were sitting on the porch, watching the scene. "You know, Brenda," she commented, taking a sip of lemonade, "I think I finally get it." "Get what?" "Why the kids love you so much. It's not just the treats or the stories. It's because you have something neither I nor Chloe have." "And what would that be?" "Lived time, experience, wisdom." She smiled. "Things you can't learn from modern parenting books." I chuckled softly. "And you have energy, new ideas, a vision for the future that I don't." "A team," she repeated our words from that night in the kitchen. "Exactly." Ethan came running up to us, clutching a drawing. "Look what I made! It's our family!" On the paper, he'd drawn stick figures. Him and Olivia in the center, Matt and Stephanie on one side, and me on the other. Everyone holding hands, everyone smiling. "It's beautiful, honey," Stephanie said, hugging him. "I'm gonna hang it on the fridge," he announced, running back to the house. Stephanie turned to me, her eyes softer than I'd ever seen them. "Thank you, Brenda." "For what?" "For not giving up, for being patient with me, for loving my kids as much as I do." I smiled, feeling a peace I hadn't experienced in a long time. "You know, Stephanie, I realized my trump card wasn't the gifts or the secret visits. It was the patience and unconditional love that no one can take away from me. And now, looking at our family gathered together, I know every tear was worth it." As the sun set that Sunday afternoon, I watched my family. Not perfect, not without its scars, but united again. Different generations, different perspectives, but the same love. And in the end, that's all that ever truly mattered.